It was a cold January night in 1981 when a northbound intercity coach left Prince George, carrying 14 passengers, a veteran driver, and a routine route along Highway 16, a stretch of road that locals already whispered about. The bus was seen passing multiple checkpoints. It was logged by radio dispatch. It was spotted by a passing freight hauler. And then, somewhere between Burns Lake and Houston, it disappeared. No crash site, no skid marks, no debris, no bodies. RCMP search teams covered more than 200 kilometers of road and wilderness and found nothing. Witness statements contradicted each other. Dispatch logs went missing. A recovered ticket stub suggested a passenger who was never listed. And a week later, a torn piece of upholstery washed up 40 miles from the route with no explanation for how it got there. This is the story of the Highway 16 bus that never made it home, and the investigation that still divides experts 40 years later. January 17, 1981. Winter light faded early across northern British Columbia, the air brittle and sharp with cold. At 6:05 p.m., Northern Coach Line's bus number 63 prepared to leave Prince George on its scheduled route west toward Prince Rupert, a journey that normally took just over 12 hours. The driver, David Halcroft, age 52, had driven the route for nearly 2 decades. Passengers described him as steady, cautious, and the kind of man who slowed for wildlife even when the road was empty. 14 passengers boarded. A college student returning home, a mother traveling to visit family, an oil camp worker heading to a new contract, a retiree known for taking the bus weekly, a young couple avoiding the icy highways, and others whose names would later appear in newsprint, police files, and unanswered letters. Weather conditions were cold but manageable, light snowfall, mild drifting, and reasonable visibility. Nothing unusual. At 6:05 p.m., the bus departed. It was seen by staff, logged in the terminal record book, and radio confirmed by dispatch. That was the last verified moment that the bus was unquestionably where it should have been. At 7:41 p.m., the bus passed through Vanderhoef, confirmed by a diner owner who later gave testimony to RCMP. He remembered it clearly because the couple seated near the front waved at him. They'd eaten there earlier that afternoon. At 9:52 p.m., a freight trucker reported seeing the bus near Fort Fraser, its headlights bright, speed normal, no signs of distress. At 9:36 p.m., dispatch received a routine radio check from Halcroft. "This is 63, making steady time, road a bit slick, all good." Nothing in his voice suggested concern. It should have arrived in Burns Lake shortly after 10 o'clock. It never did. When the Burns Lake station failed to receive the bus, dispatch assumed weather delays, but by 11:20 p.m., attempts to radio Halcroft went unanswered. At 12:45 a.m., RCMP were notified. By 2 a.m., search units were mobilized. The stretch between Fort Fraser and Burns Lake was swept twice. Snowbanks, ditches, frozen riverbanks, all checked. No impact marks, no broken guardrails, no fuel splick, no glass, no bodies, no tire tracks leaving the highway. The road simply showed nothing. Over the next 48 hours, RCMP collected statements. A store clerk in Fraser Lake claimed she saw the bus stop briefly, yet no passengers recalled a planned stop there. A logging crew reported hearing an engine in the distance around 11 p.m., but sound can travel strangely in winter valleys. A teenager swore she saw bus headlights turn onto a forestry road, but that road was later found blocked by a snow berm predating the date of disappearance. None of the accounts aligned. All of them could be genuine, or none of them could be. When investigators reviewed the Prince George boarding manifest, it listed 14 passengers. But when RCMP searched a rest stop 60 kilometers west of the highway, they found a torn ticket stub numbered one higher than the last recorded sale. If true, that meant someone boarded unlogged, or a counting error occurred, or a passenger boarded after departure, or the ticket was planted. The seating chart had been collected, but later vanished from police archives. RCMP headquarters denied ever receiving it. Families demanded answers. The papers began calling it the missing coach case. Failed theories. Mechanical failure. Impossible. No debris, no oil trail, no roadside damage. River plunge. Hydrologists confirmed the nearest drop point ice was too thick to break under a bus. Avalanche. No avalanche occurred that night, verified by geological logs. Voluntary disappearance. 14 unrelated passengers could not collude. Criminal hijacking. No tire marks, no witnesses, no motive. Every theory contradicted something. 1 week later, 40 miles north of the highway, along the edge of Babine Lake, a trapper discovered a strip of blue and gray seat upholstery. It matched the coach interior fabric pattern used only between 1978 and 1980 models. But the lake was far off route, not connected to any roadway, frozen solid the night of disappearance. RCMP could not explain it. Report filed, no follow-up. In April 1981, a provincial transportation employee anonymously provided documents to a local journalist. They revealed long-standing complaints about radio dead zones, maintenance concerns on the exact bus model, delayed implementation of mandatory tracking beacons. The ministry denied responsibility. The families pushed for a public inquiry. They never received one. The final report. Released September 1982. Official conclusion. Cause undetermined. Alternate draft wording, later leaked, said probable navigational deviation due to road visibility and driver fatigue. But Howcroft had slept 8 hours prior, and visibility reports contradicted the claim. The report was rewritten before release. Nobody admitted why. 40 years later. The road remains, the forests remain. Snow still buries the ditches the same way. Locals still say you can drive that stretch at night and feel like the world narrows around you. Every family of the lost passengers keeps the same question. How can a full-sized commercial coach vanish without leaving a single trace? Not a myth, not a legend, a real disappearance on a mapped road in a modern country in 1981, and no one has ever solved it.